So if we move on, we've probably touched on some of these points, but what has the Building Safety Act changed? I think we've alluded to the fact that we're doing a lot of things that we might have done later on in the project, much earlier. Don't know who wants to kick off on this one.
I think it has fundamentally changed the attitude. I think to a lot of people, it is design it and then go and build it to that design. You can't make changes on the hoof anymore with HRB. If it's a major change, the regulator has to agree that change before you can implement it. So it's some fundamental things like I'd have a piling obstruction. I can't change my piling design because it's part of my structural solution. I then have to go to the regulator to get them to agree my changed pile design. Things like that will cause us problems on site. In availability of a material that you've relied on in your submission. If it's not no longer on the market or whatever, that will create a change. If it depends on which one it is, if it's a major one, it will create a change, and it's out of our control. And our experience as a principal contractor is we make those changes, we deliver that, we drive it, and that is what our site leads do. They solve problems. And now you're asking them just to go and deliver the design on the page and not make any changes, not solve problems, and have to go round. And it's a fundamental change for how site teams work, definitely. But the front end, the procurement side of it, some people are saying is design and build dead as a contracting arrangement, and it will change and evolve. It will be different. It's not dead. It will just change into a different type of animal. It's going to be a bit more investment for customers up front, so they're going to have to spend more money at risk before they get a determination and approval. They're going to have to choose a contractor a lot earlier, so they can't play the game and drive lowest cost or the best value decisions. They're going to have to partner with someone because they need a contractor on board to be able to do the submission. They need to commit to consultants, commit to product suppliers a lot earlier. Fundamentally changes the current state of play. And our contracting arrangements don't really cover it. So all of the JCTs and things like that don't cover this very well at all. So lots of amendments, lots of work for the lawyers, and we're anticipating lots of problems in the future with this until we all have an understanding of how it's going to work in principle.
That's good. And I like the analogy, design, then build. So design and build might be dead, but design, then build. But it works. So that's good. Any more to add to that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, just talking about procurement and having to sort of select a lot of products early doors. It does present some problems, I guess, in that you may be choosing a fire door 2 years before you actually need it, and in that 2 years that product may be discontinued, and so there are some challenges, I think, for the industry to figure out exactly where where to pitch the level of information they put in, and one of the things that we've come back from the regulator is talking about whether performance specifications are acceptable or not. And I think it's probably fair to say on the stage the sort of strategy that we employed was choose what we saw as the real sort of headline sort of contracted design portion elements to go into the submission, and performance spec a lot of other items. And not that I would necessarily always advocate that as being the correct strategy, but I think in this particular instance, I think that largely seems to have worked. But again, it's not always going to be a universal solution, but I think that's going to be one of the things that, as time goes on, and the regulator as well also learns about how they want to sort of function and how they, what they're willing to accept and not, then is that's where we'll sort of find a balance, but that's only going to come through time, realistically.
And I think you've alluded to this, Jeremy, but I guess ultimately this can actually relieve some pressure and stress. You're often getting called in as a fire engineer when there's a problem on site. Well, moving everything left on the programme, we've actually got time, space and adequate resource to do it properly.
Yeah, that's certainly true, and it does relieve pressure in that regard. I think where I was going to go was that by and large the Building Safety Act, or certainly going to the new Building Safety Regulator, does or is slowly changing the way that we just approach demonstrating building regulation compliance at all, in the fact that, sort of in the before days, we would often go to building control and have that discussion and say, if we do these things, can we agree that this is demonstrating compliance with the building regulations? Whereas now the attitude is the design team has to come together and demonstrate compliance with the building regulations themselves, and we have to be absolutely rock solid, and there's no let's test the waters, let's see whether we can get away with this. And slowly the attitude is really changing for the positive, that we're actually, can we de-risk these items? Can we lower these items down as much as possible? And that should be the direction of travel. So that's a big positive, actually.